What's up, my wealth family? Listen here. We got some new XRP ETFs that just launched, and there's some more to come. But before you make any emotional moves, let me break down something that most people are not understanding right now. And that's the difference between owning the ETF and owning the real XRP. Because depending on your goals, one of them will help you to build wealth and one of them won't. Now, quick reminder, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing what I'm learning and how I move through these markets without losing my mind. If you love content like this, please do me a favor and hit that like button and also subscribe so you don't miss the next one. All right, so let's start with some facts. There's a few XRP ETFs that have been released on the brokerage accounts. So we're talking about Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, and Canary Capital has already launched. And also several others are going to be entering the market. Now, these are not just meme projects. As you see, these are billion-dollar institutions stepping into the XRP ecosystem on their own. Now, let's be clear about this. An ETF doesn't make price explode overnight, but it does open up the door for an entirely different class of investor. People who want exposure to XRP without holding the asset themselves. Now, look at how the market reacted. We ran up a little bit, and I think a lot of people are hoping that we'll move up some more. And even if we have a little bounce backwards, hey, it's still a good time to buy. So I actually loaded up when it was around 183. I had some at 189, and my next buy limit orders are all the way down under $1.60. I even added some to my Roth IRA around $1.90. But while people were messaging me saying, is XRP dead? Should I sell? Is this the end? I was quietly accumulating because that's what the big dogs are also doing right now. When retail panic sells, someone else is buying their position. It's just that simple. And this week, a lot of people sold their XRP to me. Now, let's talk about the accumulation. We saw OTC, that's over-the-counter buying, that's private institutional buying off exchanges. We also saw dark pool activities, that's hidden institutional orders moving in the hundreds of millions. Now, OTC are big players buying privately, so they don't necessarily move the market. And dark pools are private order books where institutions trade without showing volume publicly. So when the price moves, but you don't see huge volume on the exchanges, yeah, that might usually be dark pool activity. Now, if you want to track the real activity and not the headlines or the speculation or the emotion, then you can write this down, etf.xpmarket.com. You can go there and you can see the flows, the issuers, the volume, and all the behind the scenes data as these ETFs continue to get launched out. Now, I want to get into something that people really need to understand because I see a lot of excitement and I love it. I'm excited too, but I want you to know what you're excited about. ETFs and utility are not the same thing. They both matter. They both play a role, but they move the price in completely different ways. So let's talk about that. Now, when you buy an actual XRP, you're buying a tool. You're buying a digital asset that can move money, settle transactions, flow through the XRPL, that's the XRP ledger, support liquidity corridors, power cross-border payments, enable ODL, that's on-demand liquidity, handle tokenization, act as a bridge currency, and function inside a real payment ecosystem. That is utility, and that's movement, and that's real-world purpose. And long-term, utility is what creates those bigger numbers. Utility is what scales, and utility is what brings adoption. Utility is also what matures a financial system. But when you buy an XRP ETF, you're not buying the tool, although the ETF itself does purchase the real XRP in the background, but you're buying exposure to the price of the tool. So not the tool, but exposure to the price of the tool, and that's it. So you don't get the liquidity, you don't get the movement, you don't get the participation in the actual rails. You can't move it, you can't stake it, and you can't use it. You're basically buying a mirror of XRP. Now, does that mean ETFs are bad? Absolutely not. Not at all. ETFs serve a purpose. They make it easier for the traditional investor. They bring in money from institutions who otherwise wouldn't touch crypto. They add also legitimacy to the asset and they reduce circulating supply. And I love that because they can create a short-term or mid-term supply shock. And that's very important because when an ETF provider buys XRP and locks it up for custody, well, those units are bottled away. They're not floating around on the exchanges. They're not part of everyday liquidity. They're sitting there restricted. So yes, that tightening of supply can move the price in the short term when demand increases. But listen to me carefully. ETF creates supply shock. Utility creates valuation. These are two different engines, two different timelines, two different purposes. ETFs attract attention while utility attracts adoption. ETFs can pump, but utility can transform. ETFs bring exposure, utility is going to bring evolution. So if you're here for the short-term excitement, cool, the ETF era is just beginning. But if you're here for the real money, I'm talking about that long-term, generational, I'm glad I stayed positioned type gains, that is going to come from utility, from actual movement on the XRP ledger, from banks using it, from liquidity forming, from tokenization flowing, from institutions settling in seconds instead of days. Man, that's going to be a game changer. That's where I put my confidence. And that's why I stay patient. And that's why I say every time, I'm not investing in hype. I'm investing in infrastructure. And you got to know what you're investing in. Because again, ETFs are going to get attention, but utility is going to get adoption. And the adoption is the only thing that survives every single cycle. Now, let's talk about something bigger because yes, XRP did pop when the two ETFs came out. I think when Canary Capital came out, it dropped a little bit at first. Okay. So sometimes it's a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. But let's be honest, there's some people who bought at the top and they're still down. But guess what? We're still sitting on some great prices. Anytime you see XRP flirting around $2 or even under $2, that is a blessing in disguise. People are going to weep for the day that they could buy XRP at $2, right? So you got to realize these are levels that people begged for when it was around $3 and they felt like it was going too high. There was people who said, man, if it ever comes back under $2, I'm loading up. Did you buy the dip or did you buy the rip? Because it's a lot of people that panic buy on top and then they panic sell on the bottom, right? And really the best way to overcome that is to really have a game plan. Because a lot of times when it drops, that's when emotions take over. That's when fear kicks in. That's when people fold, people start selling, people start forgetting their own strategy. And that right there is why retail loses every cycle, because wealth is not built when prices are comfortable. Wealth is built when prices are uncomfortable and your emotions are loud and the chart looks unsure and you still stay positioned. See, every single cycle has the same psychological pattern. The price dips, fear spikes, retail sells, smart money buys, price recovers, retail chases, smart money chills. And year after year, the same people lose money, not because crypto is risky, but because their emotions run their portfolio. Now, let me be real with you. If every dip makes you want to sell, you're going to be someone else's liquidity. If every red candle makes you question your entire investment, you're not investing, you're gambling. And if every correction makes you panic, you'll never catch the long-term wave when it actually comes. This is exactly why I bought the dip at 183 and why I added up again at 189 and why I put some in my Roth IRA, like I said, around $1.90, and why I'm still willing to buy it if it dips all the way down to 150. I know that will make the chart look ugly and sentiment would be low and people would be running. And that's exactly when wealth is accumulated. Again, not on the top, but at the bottom, not in confidence, but in fear. Wealthy people buy fear and retail buys comfort. And comfort has never made anybody rich. All right, now I want to zoom out for a second because everything that's happening isn't random. It's part of a much bigger picture. We are literally watching the transition into a new financial era. And most people are too emotional and too zoomed in or too distracted by daily price action to even notice it. So let me break down really quick what's happening behind the scenes. Number one, we have a pro-crypto administration. Okay, so regardless of who you voted for, we do have a leadership in place that is pro-innovative and pro-crypto. And listen, I don't care which president it is. If the administration is pro-crypto, that is good for the entire digital asset space, whether you agree with their nuances or not. I'm just talking about the digital asset space. And that's from advisors to cabinet members to agency heads. We're seeing more openness than we've ever seen. And that changes everything. Policy creates direction and direction creates confidence and confidence creates capital flow. Number two, we also have the Clarity Act regulatory framework. One of the biggest problems holding crypto back wasn't the technology, it was the confusion. Nobody knew what was a security. Nobody knew what was a commodity. Everybody was waiting on lawsuits and public drama. I know I was waiting too. But now Washington is actually moving towards clear definitions and clear guidelines. So we're not in the wild, wild west anymore with this. And when regulation gets clearer, big money moves in, not retail money, institutional money, the kind of money that builds entire markets. Number three, we have ISO 222 and banking alignment. People keep saying XRP has no adoption, no utility, no real world usage. Meanwhile, the entire global banking system is literally integrating the exact standard ISO 222 that Ripple has been aligned with for years. You got to remember, banks don't move fast. They don't move loud, but they do move strategically. And also, payments are changing, settlement is changing, and cross-border is changing. And this is not a crypto dream. This is happening inside the traditional system. And then number 4, tokenization is the next multi-trillion-dollar wave. This is the part that gives me chills, y'all. We're not just talking about coins anymore. We're talking about real estate, stocks, bonds, precious metals, commodities, debt instruments, even entire portfolios are all being tokenized and settled on blockchains. The biggest banks in the world are preparing for this. And you think they're preparing for meme coins? No, they're preparing for utility assets, assets with speed, assets with liquidity, assets with proven rails, XRP included. And then 5, institutional infrastructure is being built right now. ETF approval, custodial expansion, regulatory clarity, ISO alignment, tokenization pilots, bank integration. It's all happening at the same time. These are not retail driven headlines. These are deep structural moves being made by the same people who will never tell you when they are buying. They just let you panic while they accumulate in the background. Now, the truth is, the future is already being built, but only the long-term thinkers will benefit from it. If you want to be positioned where the world is going, you cannot move like the people who are stuck in where we were. So I hope this video opened your eyes and help you to understand what's really happening in the crypto space right now. If it did, go ahead and like this video and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. Now, I need to say this because a lot of you all have been asking me for real curriculum, something structured, something proven, something that can actually teach you the markets the right way and take you step by step. So if you're serious about leveling up your game, if you're tired of feeling lost, emotional, or confused, and if you want real education that's not just hype, okay, then you need to check out Stock Up University. I'm partnering with Larry Jones, and let me tell you something. After going through it myself, I can honestly say the curriculum will level up your entire financial life. It is absolutely incredible. It's structured, it's strategic, it's clear, and it will make you feel more confident, capable, and powerful in the markets, especially in times like this. So if you want to actually understand the charts, the cycles, the psychology, the strategies, and the tools, Stock Up University is your foundation. That link is in the description. And then for those who want to go even deeper, who want ongoing support, who want to ask questions, who want clarity on your specific bag, who want an active community that thinks the way you think, then that's what my membership is for. In the membership, we break things down slowly. We talk about structure. We talk about emotional mastery. I walk you through how I'm positioning myself in real time, and you get live sessions with me, and you get a community that holds you accountable. So check the links below in the description. Stock Up University is there. The membership is there, and both are going to elevate your entire approach to wealth. And also, if you do join the university, you will get a discount on the community. All right. So stay consistent, stay educated, and stay around people who are moving with strategy and purpose. I'll see you next time.